Good morning, traders. FuturestraderElite here with your NQ pre-market prep on 11/26. It is Wednesday. This is going to be the last full day of trading this week. They're going to shut down early the next 2 days. And, I want to go over a couple things from yesterday's. Let's pull this chart up. Okay, so we're still on the 1 hour. And if you watched yesterday, pre-market prep, we talked about this pattern back here and this look right here. And then we had this was forming on here. It looked like it wanted to hook, and talked about a possible drive to the trend line, kind of like this. Well, it ended up going through 2 trend lines. I moved this one here. But yesterday we had talked about having major support, or, if we had a pullback, that this red line right here would be a great area for that pullback, because we had this cup and handle right here. Cup, handle, broke this line, drive up, consolidated sideways, little drop here. But, we had all this consolidation on this line here, and then all these taps before this drive, and then it pierced. When it pierced that line, you see it came back up right here. And this is why I was looking at this yesterday and was like, well, what we was up here, if they start pulling this to the downside, I would favor this area, this red line. You can see they drove up and tapped it there and down, and then we pierced through it. And then they started pulling the market down yesterday when it opened. And lo and behold, it did find that box. And then look at all that there. And then this candle. This is starting to look a whole lot better for us on the bull side with this here. Huge difference with the way they suck these 2 1-hour candles up. I got a short coming out, I believe it is tonight, for a trade recap on this trade right here. Huge win. I had, I think, 6 orders set in that box, and it picked up the very first 2, and it was gone. I mean, as soon as it picked them up, it tapped into that box and sucked straight up and was green the whole time. So I got that coming out this afternoon. But anyhow, let's look at what we might ought to be thinking about a scenario for today on what they want to do when the market opens. Like I said, this is looking a lot better. Although now we're up here at this trend line, we still didn't take out these highs. I was talking about how we needed to get above, yesterday we needed to get above 300 is what I was discussing. And I don't know how high we got, 220, 230 or so. And this area here is 300. So what I'm looking at, if we really want to get a bullish scenario here, when they open the market today, sometime between pre-market here and into the market, if they can attack this green line up here, which is 450, that R2 pivot is at 467. If we can get there, this is going to clean that chart up a whole lot. And let me show you why. So we're down here. We got all these. Here's a lower high. Here's a lower high. Here's a, I know that this is to the left chart, but this would have been a lower high back here. It lines up with that. So does this over here. So does this over here. So we got a whole lot right here. So you got to think, okay, well, they're going to have to get above 370 because there's a lot going on there. Not just this here, but over time in that area. So first reaction to that area, which is around 370, is definitely going to be a short, depending on how they get there. You kind of got to be able to judge the momentum to the upside and downside once the ATR gets high, on whether or not to take that trade. And if you take that trade, you carry a tight stop. I mean, if you set a trade at 370 to get picked up for a first reaction short, set your stop at 372 or 373, just a few points, because a first reaction means that you are pretty much placing your order exactly where you expect to get filled and it go the other way. And if it does not fill you and automatically go the other way, you want to stop out immediately, because it keeps you safe and it keeps you here to trade another day. That's the best way to play first reaction. And if you do it that way, you'll be in the game a whole lot longer. You know, their first reaction plays don't tap your area and chop around. They tag you, they go the other way. That's what a first reaction's supposed to do. They don't always work 100% the same way every time, but initially that's the move. You might get tagged and then it goes another 5 or 10 points for some kind of sweep, but that's when you got to have that as part of your game plan. If there's something just past your entry area that you think they might try to sweep, then maybe you set your stop beyond that, or you set your stop 2 or 3 points from your entry and then put another order 8 or 10 points past. In case it sweeps, it'll stop you out and then enter you back in the area where you think that sweep might take place. So with that said, I'm getting off track with all that, I guess, but let's look at the chart here where we're at. We need to break, like I said, we need to break 370. We need to break 370 today to the upside, and then we need to break 450. If we break 450, everything's going to start looking different, and that's because we're going to be taking out all this down here. We're going to be putting in a higher high for once instead of a lower high, because we're putting in these higher lows right here on this drive, and this is a big drive right here back to this, and it had broke through 2 trend lines. I done moved that trend line, so this was a big ordeal. We just need one more push, which ain't nothing. We're talking 250 points to the upside, and it could change the way everything looks, and then we could even cool down a little bit. The problem is you get up in this area. If you look back here, this is the head and shoulder play. This is the neckline down in here that it broke. So you got to be careful. Say if we got past that R2 pivot, you could think they might sweep up here to the top of the zone box, which is 510, because that's when all this started, was when we got this down move and it went all the way back up and put in this head and shoulder. And when it broke that head and shoulder, it's been down ever since. So you could think, if we can get up there as well at 510, or if we break 510, let's say today that we get some upward momentum. If we break 510 and it holds, this chart, whole structure is going to change back to the bullish side. But it's got to hold it. It can't just go up there, tap it, and reject and drop 1,000 points, because that's not going to look good either. But it does look good for us as far as that goes, if it can happen. Let's drop this down to the 15-minute. Okay, so see if we can get a clearer picture. Of course, I'll draw some more zones in and have it in the live updates channel with some precision entry zones. I've already moved some of these around, so if you watch pre-market prep, you can start trying to eyeball these with this scale over here, because I did move these in this morning before I started, and I'm going to leave them there for now, and then I'll add some more up here. You can see we keep getting these little drives and these drops and keep going up. So what you're going to be looking at right now is if we can break this trend line, you'll be looking at this yellow line at 253, the R1 pivot, which is 265. This yellow line is 275. And then we get in this zone box up here. We're getting up to that 300 level. Now, if we can get the 300, consolidate if we have to. If it don't pierce through it, we need to get up there and consolidate around that level before we get our next push to the upside. And if we do, we're going to have to take these levels out one by one unless they get a huge amount of momentum and just put in a huge green candle and pierce through a whole lot of it to get us up that way. We'll see if this keeps stepping up, you know, drive up, step back, drive up, step back. That would be ideal for today. And then I'll throw in some boxes up here for some first reaction short plays to throw in the channel if it were to take that route. And then we already got some down here. I want to point out that there's another red line. This is kind of like the play from yesterday that I took when it dropped down here. If they pull this back as of right now when I'm looking at this, which is we got several hours before the market opens, or about 3.5 or so. So here's a red line around 510. So let's call it like 510 to 5, or that red line's around 512. This box is from 515 to 525 or so. It ain't got to be exact, but that 10-point range. Let's say it runs up here and tags this trend line, or let's say it don't even get there and they start working their way down. If we get a lot of momentum to the downside between now and the market open, or if it stays around and chops up here, but then when the market opens they pull it to the downside, then this is going to be like that play yesterday. I'll be sitting in this zone right here. I honestly believe that if this were to drop, this is the level we need to be paying attention to, this red line right now. I may change my bias on that before the market opens. If I do, then I will post about it in the live updates channel, and I'll end up changing the color of this box. If I think that that's where our draw the line in the sand is for the downside, I'll probably change it to a green one like I usually do. And then if I don't, then I'll figure it out down here. I mean, even this box down here above the golden pivot would be a really nice zone for a bounce. We got this green 1 hour trend line and we're staying above it. So, you know, let's say we drop pretty good here. That golden pivot would be a great play as well, but I got a box leading front end on that because it could possibly never get to the pivot, or it could sweep this area to the pivot and take off, and we'd still be above this trend line. So that's all I'm going to have for pre-market prep this morning. Everybody have a green day. Stay safe. Stay sharp.